Well, the first Māori-led report into child uplifts by Oranga Tamariki is here, and it's damning to say the least. And to talk a little bit more about it, I'm joined by Lady Tiriti Moxon. Talk to me a little bit about what you've discovered in this report. You spoke to 1,000 whānau right across the country, right? And some of the stories, pretty horrendous.
Pretty heartbreaking. And it's not an unusual story. That's the most disturbing thing. It's not an unusual story where babies are being uplifted from their homes, and they have, in one case, 14 police come with the Oranga Tamariki staff to uplift that child. In other cases, like the one we have in the picture behind us at the Hastings Hospital, there were armed defenders there to uplift the child. And so our people are being constantly subjected to treatment that really is worthy of a terrorist.
You've spoken to about 1,000 whānau, like we've said. How many times are you hearing this story over and over again? What proportion is it?
Over and over again, but the thing is that they're lost in the system. A lot of them are lost in the system. A lot of them, have been uplifted by the state to protect them. But in actual fact, in some cases, you've got people who have been terribly treated in the care of and of Oranga Tamariki, terribly treated, and that goes on. It doesn't stop. Yeah. And then, of course, where do they go to from there? Yeah. And that's been the cry and the mamai, the hurt of a lot of people who have shared and had the courage to share their stories with us.
What about this argument then? A lot of people are talking about, they're saying Māori are overrepresented in crime statistics, yes. Māori are overrepresented in social welfare statistics, all this kind of stuff. So it's only natural then that they would be overrepresented in Oranga Tamariki uplift statistics as well?
Well, I think that they're the cause of it, actually, to be quite honest. Because why? They take these children and what are the parents supposed to do? They fight in the court, they fight in family group conferences. Their voices are never heard, they're never believed, they never are able to express their loss, their grief, because who's listening? No one's listening.
I spoke to a care worker that said, look, I've been in this job 20 years and it's very hard for me, because what am I supposed to do? If I go into a situation and I see parents that are struggling from drug abuse, parents that are not providing a home for these tamariki that they should be providing, do I leave the child there? If I walk away, that'll be on my conscience, forever. What happens if that child ends up being killed or?
Yes, and I think there is a place for children to be uplifted when the situation is like that. But to keep them forever and then hawk them around from place to place to place, where is the care and the love and the protection in that? There isn't any. And that's what's been happening to our people for years.
So in terms of obviously the reforms that are happening with Oranga Tamariki, are you comfortable with what's happening there? Obviously there's some of these joint initiatives with iwi and Oranga. What is the concern there? Is the concern that Oranga Tamariki still leads and iwi have to follow, or what's the concern?
Absolutely. They talk about partnerships with iwi. Well, what they're talking about is that master-servant relationship. It's a contract. Is that really what's intended by Te Tiriti o Waitangi? No, they've failed in terms of the Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and they continue to fail. And yet, what does the government do? Prop it up, put more people in there, dress it up like it's Māori and it actually is meaningful to Māori. That's what they do. It's a constant, and you have a look at every single ministry. That's what they do. They pour more and more money into failure.
And is that's what we're sort of, I was critical of that last year, just before Waitangi Day. It seems like we've had the Prime Minister go up for a couple of years in a row now, do a bit of a lolly scramble around, and then it sort of calms down some of the protests and stuff like that, and she receives a big welcome. Is that a concern again this time around?
Well, they throw out all these pennies and then they think, oh yes, that'll quieten everybody down, and because some people get a few pennies and other people miss out. That's not what Te Tiriti in its essence means. It means that we can actually grow and develop. That's Māori, iwi, hapu, whānau can grow and develop and create and be innovative in our own way around solutions for ourselves.
Does that mean iwi have their own organisations then that sort of replace Oranga Tamariki, or what's the best model then for solutions?
I actually think that Māori can do this. We've seen it with all the different iwi around the country. We've seen it with the Whānau Order Commissioning Agency. It's the only example, if you like, of tino rangatiratanga. But what does the Crown do? It takes away the tino rangatiratanga by withholding money, withholding resources, and then it undermines it.
Sure.
You know, it's the only example that we have besides the iwi that settlements that have happened. So in my view is that we must create this for ourselves. Create it for ourselves.
And likelihood, with the engagement that you've had with Tracy Martin and government, that will be allowed to happen as opposed to these Oranga Tamariki. You can understand their perspective, right? Because they're probably a bit concerned. They're like, this is an untried model in terms of iwi being able to lead. We understand why it is, because we understand obviously all those institutions of colonisation and stuff like that, but they're probably going, this is too dangerous to risk.
That's because they don't want to let go of power. They don't want to. They have had dominion over us since the beginning of colonisation, and they want to keep that dominion over us until we no longer exist, until we reintegrate and are assimilated into them. Well, we're never going to be assimilated into them because we're not going to allow that to happen.
Where's the hope?
Well, the hope lies within ourselves. Kia tātua no te aratika. The answers lie within us, not with the Crown. And not with Oranga, certainly not with Oranga Tamariki. And where else are we going to get the kind of support that we need to be able to do this for ourselves and be resourced to enable this to happen and to empower our families and hear their voices, because they've been shut down, they've been made invisible, and they have been stealing our children for years and decades and decades.
Fast forward 5 years from now, chance of this, you and I being here and talking about this again.
Well, the only way it's going to change is if government are going to let go of power and let go of resources and allow us to do what we need to do.
Optimistic?
Well, I'm always optimistic. But then there's a change of government, and we go back to 100 years. It's a continuous fight. You're never ever allowed to relax around anything, because you're constantly fighting for those teeny weeny morsels that they tend to throw out when there's an election.
Lady Tiriti Moxon will look through those morsels that will no doubt come probably a little bit closer to Waitangi Day, but we obviously really appreciate this incredibly valuable report. You can read more about the report at nzherald.co.nz. We'll be here as well on Facebook Live. Bye for now.